Hello everybody, I am Fuzzy Face and we are now on part 9 of this season 2 edition of Motorsport Manager. We're still on the career mode, we're still with Predator Racing Group and we are doing absolutely brilliant this season. Look, we've got Santa Ana all the way up here, first place in the driver's standing. Latina not doing too bad herself, now moved up into 7th place after her win the last time out in Tondela. We've got 1st and 4th, our best ever position. Absolutely brilliant racing from both drivers. Santa Ana actually moving up from, where was she, 17th place on the grid, but this time of course she will be starting right at the back of the grid, all the way in last place, so I'm not too sure how good she's going to do in Milan, but we are making some good progress. We now have the 7th best car, we do not have the worst car, and we went ahead and we started the build of the HQ. Last time we building the design centre, which should be done just after the season ends. We've got one more part to build before the end of the season. We're going to go ahead and build an engine with a +1 risk factor. We're not obviously not going to use that this season, but hopefully we can get it up to scratch before the end of the season. And then it should be our base for next season going forward. Everyone's happy. Everyone's doing happy. Well, she is totally happy, but she's not happy with the car because we give all the best parts to Santa Ana. And yeah, we're doing absolutely brilliant, and we're still making money, so we've still got all the other things. We might be able to make another HQ upgrade in the off season depending on how much we spend on next year's car. All the sponsors, although Peach Plum are going to be up soon, but we might be able to get a bit better one there because Peach Plum's a 1 rated sponsor and we do now have the ability to take 2-star sponsorships. And I have been talking about replacing Latin at the end of the season. But I think her win and her form here of getting to this point of 7th place has sort of convinced me that maybe we're sort of rushing into that decision. So we might as well see her contract out and see how she does next season. So I guess we're going to go with this driver lineup again next season. Of course, if we do somehow against all odds manage to get promoted, it's not too far off because we're now only 8 points behind, but we do need to keep that form going, which is now that we've got both cars at the back of the grid. Latinum was starting higher up the grid, but now that she's starting here, she will be in what would she be in, 14th? Yeah. Try to do the, couldn't work it backwards then. Yeah, Latinum will be starting in 14th, so she's not too good at overtaking, I don't think. Oh, she is. She's actually better than Santa Ana at her overtaking. So, but I think it's our strategy that's working out for us this season. It's that point of trying to go a bit longer than all the other cars. Try to stay out on track till all the other cars have done their pit stops. So we sort of get the advantage of running a bit longer, having some clear air, having some clear track, and having fresher tyres towards the end of the race. It seems to really work in our favour doing that. So if we can achieve this season, getting this high after 8 races, then it only bodes well for next season when we should have a much better car, a much better factory, much better design centre. So it does bode well for next season, and maybe next season we are in a position to push for this top spot. I know we're pushing for that top spot now, but I don't think we're going to hold on to that just because of us starting at the back of the grid now, and both of our cars now are in and around the cars that we are competing with. So tyre, we've got a couple of server problems. We have some work being done on our data centre and networking capabilities at the moment. Our technicians have found that our data storage is a bit out of date, so we'll go ahead and upgrade that. We don't want to make the... do we? Yeah, we don't want to make the chairman unhappy. Even though I don't think it will make any difference, would it? And we do have a vote coming up in a week's time. Although now that we're at the top of the table, we're not too bothered about the equality payments anymore as we would be if we were down at the bottom of the table. So I think I might go ahead and abstain from this vote just so we get a plus vote for next season, just in case there's something we do want to bring into force. Got reliability work done now, so what are we still working on here? I don't think there's much that we can improve here. If we auto-film that, it's just going to put the old parts in there, isn't it? I'll just auto-film those, but and reliability, we have a couple of parts that we can work on. Not that it makes any difference at all, because these are good enough to get to the end of the race, but we're just going to go ahead and set those. And now we're going to go ahead and do this vote. This rule will not benefit highly ranked teams. So we are now highly ranked, even though we have the worst car. But we're going to abstain from it anyway, because it will be brought in next season. And I think there's only 2 million difference between finishing bottom and finishing top. There's not too much difference, so it doesn't really matter. It's not a huge amount of money for us, since we do make so much money. I think we actually make more money as Predator Racing Team than any other team in this series. And that's because we don't have drivers that cost a lot of money. I know ZRT, I did have a look at those. I started a game as those and had a look, and both of their drivers cost nearly £1 million per race. It's been voted in for next season, so we should be seeing a share of 12.5 million this next season. As I was saying, the ZRT Autosport team, one of the lowest rated, they spend about nearly £1 million per race on a driver, whereas we spend 43,000 per race on drivers. So we save a hell of a lot of money there that we can put into the car, that we can put into the factory, which is the most important thing to do, I think, at this point, that we can catch every other team and hopefully leapfrog them. And then once we've got the car up to scratch, up to the sort of grade that we want, then we can go ahead and start thinking about drivers. The only other driver that I'm thinking about, it depends whether he comes back higher rated than Latinen, is Baltan, because I know he was in the Dragon Race team, and I know the Dragon Race team at the start of the game says they are taking a risk on a pay driver. So whether he's worth, I don't think he's going to be rated any higher than Latinen, but we're going to go ahead and look at him. And then there's a couple of young drivers. We might go ahead and think about bringing in a reserve driver for next season. Although it's not something that's important, because we just have this one that the game gave us after our last one went, because we're only paying her £1,000, and there's I don't think there's any real sort of benefit to having a reserve driver around if we're not actually going to use them for the practice sessions. And reserve drivers don't have any sort of impact on marketability either. So yeah, we're going to go ahead now and skip to the Grand Prix, so we'll pick this up when it's time for the race. Right, so we're at the Milan race now, about to go ahead and do it. We're starting down the bottom of the grid with these two. If you notice a slight discrepancy here from where we started, where we got ahead, the game crashed, so we went back, and instead of the server problems of the minus 500,000, we had a plus 1 million due to an email that said about a merchandising opportunity for Santa Ana. And also during that, Santa Ana has divorced as well, so she's got a -1 focused trait. The vote still went the same way, so equality payments are still being brought in next season, but because of that, we can go ahead and build this engine now. So what did we say we were going to do? We were going to go with... No, we've missed out, haven't we? Is that high enough? No, we've still got another 2 engines to build before the end of the season, haven't we? Because I want to add that one as well. Yeah, so we're going to have to build this one and then maybe another one on top of this. Yeah, I think that's what we're going to have to do, isn't it? So we're going to have to build this one now. It should be ready before the race after this one, and then build another part. Would we have time to get that one up to scratch? What does this one get up to? 218? Let's just have a click about here. Where are we? So what are we at the moment? 188. So we're going to build it anyway, and we're going to hope that we can get the other one built as well and get that one up to scratch. Although since we don't have anything else to work on in the garage, we don't have to work on the reliability. We just have to focus on the performance. So hopefully we've got enough time to get this one done as well before the end of the season. We're going to go ahead and buy that one. We should have enough money for that after this race. So we're going to go ahead and put 400 on. There's not many races where we haven't finished 6 or above, but I'm always sort of, you know, I'm sort of reluctant to take that one, because the races that I do take it for, I know I won't finish 6 or above, and I'll be kicking myself for missing out on the 400,000 if we finish like 8th or 9th or whatever. But we are sort of on a roll, but it's not worth the risk, because I could do with that 400,000. So that's what we're going to go with, and I've got my settings that I used last year, in last season on this track. I got 89% last time, so we're going to use those as a base for this year. Those were the same. We had high gear ratios and we had a hard suspension. I'm going to run on the mediums. I don't think there's any rain forecast, no. And we'll do the same with Santa Ana, but we'll do this one below what we've got Santa Ana set at. And maybe we'll run the gear ratio a little bit lower. We had Santa Ana at 75, so maybe we'll do that. One higher, one lower I mean, and we'll keep the suspension the same, and we'll see if that's any different. Although both of these drivers, they don't see eye to eye on the setups, so they're usually quite a bit different, so we can't see what works in one car and works in another, because they've both got different parts in, they both often quite want different setups, so we can't go ahead and put the same setup in both cars and expect both to have good feedback. We're going to go ahead and send them out once, bring them back in, so we'll pick up when they've both come back in. Right, so they're both back in from that first run. The downforce on Santa Ana's was rated as excellent, so I guess that's what we're going to have to try first with Santa Ana's car, is make this the same as in Latinen's car, and then try and balance these back up. So that should stay excellent, and we'll leave that there just to see if it makes any difference to this. So that's her setup for the next lap. So the speed balance wasn't as good there. So what was different in Santa Ana's car? That wasn't different, it was just that, wasn't it? So whether that makes that excellent now, this might be one of the tracks where they do agree. Just after I said that they don't agree on setup, this might be one of the tracks where they do agree on a setup. We're just going to send them out once again, and we'll bring them back in and see how they both what they both thought of the new setups. So we're both back in now. Latinen, we've got to do some work on Latinen's car, but we're getting there with Santa Ana. So we've gone from okay to great, so it might be this way. We'll just do it a couple of... Should we just do it once on that? See if that makes any difference, and it doesn't change these too wildly. Don't really want to mess with it too much, as I'm quite happy with that setup. It's a pretty short track, so we might be able to get a couple of actual time lapse in. And we've got some work to do on the speed balance in Santa Ana's car, because we think we went the wrong way there, didn't we? She must want this further this way, 63, 63. Everything else is rated great. Can we move these a little bit? Should we move these a bit? Just to try and make some sort of difference on the handling, without affecting the speed balance too much. What should we do? Should we go with that? Don't want it to go too far. I need it to move maybe another notch. So can we get moved a notch over? Maybe. Is that moving the handling more, or does that move the speed balance more? Yeah, I don't want to move the speed balance too much, so we'll go wrong way. What are we going with? Yeah, we'll just try that this time. I think that'll do. We'll go out again on the mediums, and we'll see how they did with those setups. Right, so that's after the third lap, third setup test. We've got Santa Ana now in a point where we're really happy with her, so we're going to try set some times from now on out. Latinum, we're almost there with. We're at 96%. We've got 2 excellents. It's just the speed balance that's slightly out. So what could we do about that? Which way is she happier with going? So is she happy with coming more this way? Try and do it without affecting the handling. Just try that one, but we're going to try set a time this time. We're going to try set a time with Santa Ana on this same setup. We're not going to mess with this one now. So we'll go on the softs for both cars and we'll see what sort of time we can get. And we might be able to get 2 time lapse in here because the Milan track isn't too long, but even though it's quite a short track, I think it's only 13 laps as well, this track, for some reason. Yeah, I think it is 13 laps, isn't it, this Milan track? So we're coming round now, so we'll go ahead and have a push for this lap, see what sort of time she can set. We'll go ahead and do the same for Latinen. Whether we're going to hit any traffic, it doesn't look like we are. There's a couple of slow cars, or they're not causing too much trouble here. So, where are we? Santa Ana was quicker then, but now she's slower and she's getting held up a little bit there. Around this last little bend. 14th and 17th. That's a lot better than we usually do in practices. And usually we do quite badly in practices but do alright in the races. So it's not looking too bad, and they're both out of fuel now. So they're both going to crawl around back to the finish line here. But I think we'll send them out for another lap and we'll pit back up there. So both drivers are coming round now. They both got yeah, we just got enough time to get round to set another time lap. We did manage to get Latin in there up into 3 excellents to match Santa Ana. So we've done an excellent job with the setups this time, and we'll see what sort of time we can get. Although it does look like we're going to get held up again. There's quite a few cars out on track. Santa Ana is there quicker in the first sector. Both cars are the quickest, got quickest times in the first sectors there. So things are looking up for this race here. Hopefully we can go ahead and do quite well, but we're dropping off in the second sector there. But again, that's, I think, because we're getting held up behind a lot of the cars. So even though our times are 15th and 18th there, this first sector around here, well, we didn't get held up. We were a lot quicker than the other cars for some reason, and I don't know why we're a lot quicker than the other cars. But yeah, things are looking quite good for this race. So we're starting down the back of the grid. I'm not sure whether we're going to try and do the one-stop strategy that we do try to do in the shorter races. It always gets messed up by a safety car. So I don't know whether to go ahead and try do a 2-stop strategy. We might try and risk it with Latinen. I don't, but then there's not enough time to go from back to front of the grid on this one. It's quite a hard decision to make, because it does mean running one of them in the lower engine mode after the first lap. Should we risk it for one of them? Is it worth it to risk it? We'll do what we normally do and try and have Santa Ana go a bit longer than the other cars, and we might run her for low and see if we can get her onto that 7th lap to do a one-stop strategy. If she does fall below, too far behind in the low engine mode, then obviously we will have to come in. We will have to change strategies up a bit, but that's how we're going to start. And the soft tyres, we're going to just run the soft tyres for the entirety of this race. There's no point using the medium. There's note that suggests that we should use a medium over the softs. There's no limitations on what we actually use. So yeah, that's what we're going to go ahead and do. Softs for both. Yeah, that's what we're going to do. We're going to try and get Santa Ana onto that 7th lap. Try and get her a lap longer and see what we can do. It just depends how far she falls behind starting from the back of the grid here. So we'll keep an eye on her. Latin is starting in 14th. She's a bit slow off the line, but she managed to hold on there. No, just lost it around that first corner. So we're dropping down the field there, and Santa Ana, can she keep up? We're running at the back of the grid here. It's just whether we can keep Santa Ana somewhere close at the back here. She's actually not doing too bad. So is it going to be worth it? Maybe. We're going to try it. The tyres are low, so we're going to have to push on them anyway. So let's just see what she can do if we run that strategy from the back. Latinum, we're going to have a push for this lap maybe, and just turn her down as we come around to the end of this lap. She's doing well at keeping up with the back of the field. She's not dropping too far behind Latinen. Yeah. And we're going to think about turning Latinen down here. We're going to keep the tyres up because the tyres are pretty cold. But we don't want them to wear away, so we'll put her in a push mode. Latinen now back up into 14th. It's basically just a question of what the Ozu team can do around us, because that's who is top. And look at that. I knew a safety car would mess us up. So we're going to go ahead and pit now. Every time we try and do that strategy of try to stretch it out to one stop, a safety car comes out and absolutely messes it up for us. So we're going to go ahead and pit. So that throws it out the window, so we are going to go for 2 stops now with both cars. I can never remember whether I've put the new tyres on or not, so we're going to have to go ahead and do that again. Tyres, fuel, pit strategy fast. New tyres, fuel to the top, pit strategy fast. So we're going to have to double stack here as we come around, but every other car is going to have to do that as well. Hopefully Latinen can improve on 16th place in the pits. But she can go faster. She's not going to hold Santa Ana up too much. 14th, 12th. Latinen made up a few places in the pits there, and so did Santa Ana. We actually managed to make up a few places in the pits there, so not too bad. Now it's just a matter of what we can do behind the safety car. Make sure these tyres don't get too cold. But we'll pick up again as we get this race back underway, because we've got another lap to go under the safety car. Right, so we're coming ahead back round to the start of the lap now. The safety car is about to go in, so we're going to get ready to put these engine modes and everything into push and overtake. I think we'll be starting to speed up now, so we'll go ahead and do that now. We're going to run Latinen in this mode for a little bit longer because she's going to come in the lap before Santa Ana for the pits. Let's see if we can pick up some places here as we do that. And Santa Ana does, she gets up into 12th place there. And we're both storming up the field here. Absolutely doing brilliantly there at the start from behind the safety car. Got up into 5th and 4th now and 10th. So I think we're going to have to go ahead and turn Santa Ana down now, because we need her to go a bit longer than Latinen, but we can keep her go ahead and push Latinen for maybe another lap. See if we can catch up. But I think we're going to get held up there. She got held up behind that car, didn't she? Got slowed down totally by that car. Santa Ana's starting to drop down, but we're just going to run our strategy now. We're not bothered about overtaking cars. It's just a matter of staying where we are and just running our strategy. Making sure tyre wear doesn't get too bad. Turn Latinen down now, running in 6th and 11th. It's not too bad. It is quite an improvement of I keep saying this. We do seem to be exceeding expectations in every race. From where we started on the grid with this car, I wouldn't expect us to be where we are, but we're doing really well. Still 6th and 11th. If we can finish in these 2 places, then I will be really happy. And now we're just going to see if we can push here before we come into the pits. Not enough to get round in that, but we can go for this one, and we can attack on these tyres as well. And then let's just see, we want 1 extra lap of fuel. That will give us 4 laps. Yeah, we'll put 5 in, just to make sure we've got enough to get to the end and give us enough time to put the engine mode in high if we need to. And then Santa Ana's actually struggling for fuel here as well, isn't she? So she might just have to come in and pit as well, maybe. What's the gap between them? 7 seconds, that's not it's just about enough to make that pit stop, isn't it? So I did actually want to have a push on these. Might have to double stack them here. If they can keep that 7-second gap, then it should be alright. Still 7 seconds apart. Just about. So we are going to have to stack them here, aren't we? Latinum burned up more fuel than we thought she would. I put too much fuel in there, haven't I? So we want 5 laps of fuel just about for her as well. Let's hope they don't double stack too much. Can Latinum get out? Just about a second there. And a mistake on the refueling as well. But we should have enough now to actually push. We won't go into over attack mode with the new tyres just yet. So where do we get out? 13th and 8th, and a couple have got to make pit stops here, so we should be able to get back to where we were before the pit stops. So that wouldn't be too bad if we can get those positions back. Should keep us somewhere near the top of the table. And we should be able to keep pushing these pushing the engines. I think we've got enough fuel to get round. So we're now up into 4th and 10th. Santa Ana's chasing this car. She might be able to get a couple of places up. And it looks like Latinum's losing ground, isn't she? So 2 laps remaining. Yeah, we've got enough fuel to keep pushing. And it looks like we've got enough to push with the tyres as well. So we can just set them as that and see how we go on to the end of the race now. Let's go ahead and push. Push and push. It looks like Latinum's got 4th in the bag. Too much trouble there, so we'll stick with Latinum and see if she can pick up a few places. Hopefully she doesn't lose 10th place. Finishing both cars inside the top 10 again would be an amazing feat. Say that, the car's catching her. Get past her, but she shoots down there. That was a great move there to keep first place. Not first place, 10th place, what am I saying? We're coming round to the finish now. Latinum has finished in 4th there. Absolutely brilliant result again for one of our cars. Can Santa Ana keep 10th place here? Looks like it, yes she can. So absolutely brilliant result again, 4th and 10th. Another brilliant result. It doesn't look like any of the Ozu cars finished near the top either, so it's going to be a question now of how close we got there. So 4th and 10th. Another brilliant result for us. We don't have any risks there. So we did finish 4th and 10th. Where did the Ozus finish? 13th and 19th. So that means we go into the last race of the season hopefully in 1st place. Santa Ana's still in 1st place even though she finished 10th. And we've now got a 10-point lead going into the final race of the season. And I cannot believe that. I actually cannot believe that we've actually managed to pull that off. So everything comes down to how we managed to do in the last race of the season. Which I think is a Black Sea race, which is something that we don't usually do. And plus the last race of the season is double points, so there is always that chance that we're not going to hold on to this. But if we could manage to pull that off, that would be like one of the biggest underdog stories ever. Starting the season with the worst car, working on the car a little bit, and after 9 races we're in 1st place in the drivers and the constructors. And I honestly can't believe that. So we've got one of the scout reports back. We've got Stromboli rated 3 stars, but it probably cost a lot of money to bring in. And Santa Ana's got neck issues going into the final race of the season, so that's going to affect her a little bit. Takes her down to nearly 2 stars. other than that, we're at first place and first place. And Lattinen's up into 6th as well, so I think everything rests on what Ozu and Eastwood do, whether they can get above us. Obviously we double points. If we just need to finish somewhere around here, and if we can do that, then the championship is ours. I can't actually believe I'm saying that. I thought we were going to struggle this season. And yeah, absolutely brilliant. So next time we're going to come back and see if we can go ahead and win this championship. So if you're not a subscriber already and want to be informed of when I post that update, whether we win the championship or not, hit that subscribe button down below, give me a thumbs up and leave me a comment if you want to. I don't think there's much we can improve on now, but yeah, just absolutely brilliant. So until next time, until we come back for this Black Sea Grand Prix, I'll see you down the road, and goodbye.